I gave up probably like 50 pounds in that, because I had to put on a weight vest, wait for the Tennessee, because I had to be at least over 225 to fight him.
Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now.
It's good to see, you being active, you know what I mean? Because some people out there, they just can't find fights, man. I got a guy that I know, a lightweight, man, he's so good, but he just can't make his debut. Nobody wants to fight him. It's crazy.
Man, dude, that's the same problem I ran into my whole career, bro. Same thing. Couldn't find a fight. It was hard to find a fight, mainly because, like, I understood like the type of matchup I am amongst most guys, so it was hard. So I know how it is.
Yeah, but man, you've created and you've carved a pretty decent career so far, man. Double champ as an amateur, in 2021. You took your last fight as an amateur, got the win. What prompted you to become or decide to turn pro?
Well, what helped me turn pro was what we're talking about now, trying to find fights. We're going to struggle to find fights as an amateur. Let's at least get paid to do it. And at the time, I just turned 5-0. I do have an extensive wrestling background. Obviously, I don't have the accolades of like the higher level college type guys, but I have been wrestling for all my life. I've been wrestling for so long. So I have been wrestling, then I played college football. So I was an athlete. And to be able to come over and start doing MMA, I had fought October 3rd of 2020, and then my last ever amateur fight was October 30th, I believe, October 30th, October 31st. So one of those of 2020. And about a year and some days time, I had 5 fights. I had 5 amateur fights. And all of them was at 205 until my last amateur fight. I fought at 185. So I knew I was going to be fighting at 85 as a pro. So I wanted to make sure I got that cut down at least once before I turned pro. So I made sure I did it as an amateur.
Yes, and so far, man, you've accumulated an undefeated record, 5 knockouts, 1 fight that went the distance. Which fight do you think you've had the most adversity? Because if you look at on paper, it's like, man, this guy, everything looks pretty simple for him,
I would have to say, a lot of people talk about my decision fight. It was, I mean, I won every round, but most people think that was my toughest matchup against Caleb Crump. And I think, he definitely posed a threat. He had the wrestling background, he had the BJJ background. So it was good to be able to see myself face that type of competition before, making my run jump to a bigger stage. To see myself, and I felt like Ivan Batnich was also a tough fight. A lot of people. He had the record. He was 5-1. Trained at a really good gym at AKA out of San Jose, California. Trained with Luke Rockhold and Habib and all of those boys. So he had the experience, been a pro for a good while. And then a lot of people sleep on this. I was my pro debut, Wes McCracken. He also trained at AKA. He moved to Wonder Boy's gym. He moved to Wonder Boy's gym. So he had been training for a long time. His record was 1-3, but if you go back and like people actually watch film, two of those losses cut stoppages in fights he was winning. So it says 1-3, but 2 of those he was winning those fights and they got cut and continued. So it's a part of the sport, but he was a tough matchup. So as a pro debut as well. So I feel like I've had some tough challenges along the way. I know I have a few that you can be like, oh, well, you just walk through that. Yeah, some people's going to get some. People actually look. It was hard for me to find fights, so I had to get some guys like my 1-12 Jake Zog. He was a heavyweight, but we had to get him on like literally like a week's notice. I had so many tickets. We had so many guys in and out, and then it got to the point. Well, I needed an opponent. I sold too many tickets. So we had to get somebody. I say, man, get somebody at 205 because I don't even know what I'm fighting. Nobody gonna just want to be able to cut 185 in a week, especially on regional like that. And I had to fight at heavyweight. So I just took the fight in a matter of me. His record wasn't good, but I gave up. I gave up probably like 50 pounds, and that's, because I had to put on a weight vest, weight for the Tennessee, because I had to be at least over 225 to fight him. Like 213, 214. So I had to put on a weight vest to make weight, while he actually had to cut to make the 265 a little bit. So, but besides that, I would say I've had a pretty decent pro career. Fought valuable competition as I go up, and there was some tough guys along the way. But I feel like I've had a solid career, and I feel like that's going to help me going into this Contender Series fight.
Yeah, man, all of those forks in the road, right, so to say, as you've been coming up, right, you've been able to handle it really well. And man, I've never heard anybody like put on a weight vest to weigh more. Everybody's trying to weigh less.
I know, man. It was so weird. It was like the Tennessee Athletic Commission was like, for you to make weight, you have to be 225. And I'm like, what? I ain't never heard of that. But because of there's another, so in Tennessee, they have the cruiserweight division. It's not necessarily a division, amongst most professional promotions, but Tennessee as an athletic commission have that. So you couldn't weigh two divisions under. So technically I would have been two divisions under, 205, 225, dead heavyweight. So I was two divisions under. So I had to make sure I closed the gap. So yeah, I had to put on a weight vest. So it was crazy.
You got to do what you got to do, man. And it all leads to October 10th, Contender Series, Las Vegas. When you put the pen to paper, man, how did you feel?
Man, I felt excited. To be able to finally get that call. I had got the call the day after I had just fought LJ Porte in Nashville, where the UFC was that Saturday. And that morning I had got a call, and it was my agent. I thought he had left some at the house. He stayed at the house with me. He was like, Torrez, what you doing on October 10th? And I'm like, October 10th? I know what day that is. I had knew all the series dates in my head already up to that point, and I'm like, man, I'm just waiting on the call. Preferably, I was hoping for October 3rd, only because I fought first ever amateur MMA fight exactly 3 years ago on October 3rd. So I was like, man, that'd been the perfect story. Get the UFC contract on the day you fought your first MMA. But I still take it. It's the week after, so 3 years, 1 week, get a UFC contract. Yes, man, I was so excited. I am excited for this opportunity, and I knew I know I'm on that level, and I'm ready to show the world that I am.
Yuri Panferov is your opponent, right? The Russian polar bear. You're the Punisher. It sounds pretty cool, right, on paper. What do you think about him in the matchup?
Yuri, he has a lot of good things he brings to the table. He has all first round finishes. He has a plethora of submissions he is one with. And I think he poses a really good threat. He has a lot of good tools in the bag, a little bit of boxing background as well. He's not your typical Russian. A lot of people see, oh, man, he's Russian. But he actually never actually grew up wrestling. He actually didn't grow all the way up wrestling. He didn't start like BJJ actually until he was 16 or 17 or something like that. So he's been taking this along as well. So he's very young in the game as well. He's green. So am I. He's 27. I'm 24. But I feel like having that background in wrestling for so long could definitely help me out in this matchup. But I definitely think going in there and just playing my game. I tell you against everybody. If I go in there and beat me, I don't think anybody on the planet can beat me. And I keep that mindset every time. Just go in there and just do what you've always done. Everybody's going to pose a threat. Everybody's going to be strong. Everybody's going to be big, whatever that is. But I've been seeing that all my life. I've always been the underdog all my life. So this is no different to me. I'm excited for the opportunity. A lot of people don't know I've been underdog in majority of everything I've ever state championships, fights. I've been underdog in a lot of different things. That don't ever pose a threat. A lot of people ask me a question about does the stage per se pose a threat. Being able to fight in front of Dana White. I'm like, maybe once I step in, I can't see yes or no with that, but I've been on big stages before. I've had opportunity to play, LSU, Alabama, and football, college football, UTC, and had opportunity to wrestle in state championships, some of the highest divisions in Georgia, so nationally as well. So I know how it feels to be on a high pressure situation and having to be able to perform. And I think I would definitely go in there and get the job. You know, this is the biggest stage I've ever competed on, 100%. But I feel like with the experiences up to this point, I think I'll be able to go in there and handle it very well and get the job done.
Yeah, and according to Tapology, Yuri, he hasn't competed at middleweight in a long time. And if you go back, back in your career, you've middleweight, 205, you kind of jump back and forth. How difficult is it to do that?
Well, so like I said, my whole amateur career I fought at 205. My whole entire pro career I've been at 85, except for that one fight at heavyweight. So the entire time I've been at middleweight, and with him cutting to 185 is definitely something to definitely consider. He's never cut to 185 before as a pro, so I don't know how it's going to definitely happen for him. I'm sure he's been dieting. I'm sure he's known about this for a minute. He was going to move to middleweight, so it definitely will be something interesting. But I just wanted to make sure I go in there and make weight for myself. If I go in there and get the opportunity where I make weight, then it's on him to do what he's got to do. But I feel like he's going to come in there and make weight. I feel like he's going to be the professional that he's planned out to be. He's maybe 6-0. But I feel like this is definitely a big time matchup for me, and I love the matchup for myself. I really do. I'm excited. We're the main event in the last week of season 7, so Dana White Contender Series. You can't make this up any better, man. I'm ready to go.
There you go. Agoge Combatives, man. Of course, I know you, Trevor Peak. Mm-hmm. I've interviewed him in the past as well, and he's the one who exposed me to Agoge Combatives, man. How did you end up with them?
Man, so funny you say that. So I had started boxing at the injury I had in football, and once like, man, you're not gonna make it to the NFL. You got to start looking for other ventures. And I was like, man, I didn't feel like my athletic career was done. So I started boxing at this gym in Red Bank, Tennessee, and somebody came up to me like, man, the way your style, I know you got a wrestling background. You should try out Agoge, try some jiu-jitsu. And I said, I'll think about it. I never was really big in it because I never really did talk about MMA that much. I watched it, who wasn't brought into the MMA scene when Conor McGregor was coming up. So that's how I really got my eyes put into it, was what McGregor, and that was a few years later down the line anyway, but for me. And so then about 2020, COVID hit, February of 2020, and that's like when we came back to school, it was like, hey, you can't go out, you can't do anything. I was like, man, we didn't even know we was gonna have a football season. So I would sneak out of the dorm and I would go to the Agoge. I was like, I'm gonna try this out. And they was the only thing that was going at the time. They had papers up on the windows so nobody could look in and see that they were trying. There was some people that was going around trying to tell people like contact of any sort. So they put up paper stuff on the wall. They had individual training. I would go to them, man, and I would go and train. And it fell upon me, and I was like, man, I feel like what I'm going to do. I was like, this is what I want to do. And it just happened to be, man, I found the gym at the right time. And so blessed. I'm so thankful I was able to find the Agoge. What are the odds, the place you play college football at, and you find a little small gym on the side of the road. Now we've grown. We're so big now. We're also still expanding. So it's so phenomenal to be able to have opportunity to be able to train at Agoge and, be one of the guys that bring MMA into the light. Trevor was the first one. I'm happy to definitely be the second one to come in and get a UFC contract. But I got 2 guys from Agoge. You can do it from your own gym. I'm blessed to be able to say I'm going to be the next one.
Yeah, it's phenomenal, man. They built you from the ground up, and dare I say, without the pandemic, we wouldn't even have you fighting. You know what I mean? Like we probably would have never saw you.
100%. I definitely say, for some people, COVID was a curse, but then for some, a lot of people's made their careers from what happened with COVID. People had to adapt, and I would say, I graduated UTC with 2 degrees, both in communication and sports administration. So, I was going to go home and definitely try to get up the communication grade. I want to be a sports analyst anyway. So I was going to start working at the news station. And, next thing you know, I was like, man, I just feel like I'm not done yet. I'm not done with my athletic career. And lo and behold, I was, fighting MMA. And I will say, COVID was a blessing for me. Without it, I don't think I ever would have been fighting. 100%. I never would have. I don't think I ever been fighting MMA. I actually do believe that. So, what are the odds? What are the odds?
Exactly, man. But I love to see it, man. I love to see it. I love to see people rise up and man, what do you expect out of yourself against Yuri in this fight coming up?
Yes, man. I expect for me to go in and dominate. Like I always said, I don't definitely go in there to make predictions, but I do make one thing that I will have my hand raised by the end of that fight, and I will get the job done. That's the one thing I can definitely tell you. I've been working so hard. I've been training so hard. I'm currently here now in Orlando training at Fusion XL. With a lot of the top tier guys that's already in the UFC, getting a lot of good work in. So I've been working so hard these last. Heck, we got about 5 weeks to go anyway, and I've been pushing it. I am ready to showcase what I can bring to the table. A lot of people are going to be definitely surprised, but on October 10th, the world will finally know who Torrez Finney is, and I'm going to definitely get my hand raised by any means necessary. I'm going in there to get that contract, and I'm really confident I'm going to go in there and get the job done.
There you go. And one last question, man. Torrez. Never met a Torrez in my life. Is that a family name? Like what? Like where did that come from?
Definitely, it is a family. My dad is named Torrez. The way I was told that the name came was one of my great grandmother, I believe. She was watching. I love pro wrestling, so if at the end of the fight, I'm definitely gonna do it. If I get the mic, in front of Laura Sanko, I do the "If You Can Smell." So I'm a big pro wrestling fan, but it's also come down from the family lineage, and they would watch pro wrestling, and I think one of the last names for one of the wrestlers was Torrez, but it was Torres, and instead of the S, they just switched it to the Z. Put a little twang on it.
Yeah. A little flavor, a little flavor.
A flavor on it, yeah, a little seasoning on it, a little different. Torrez Finney Sr. is my dad's name, and I'm Torrez Finney Jr.
All right, there you go, man. It's surprising how many grandmas like pro wrestling. I'm just gonna put it out
I know. You'd be surprised, man. They love the pro wrestling scene. They grew up and they love the chairs, the tables. So, yeah, look, I grew up a big pro wrestling fan, man. I love The Rock. I love John Cena. I love The Undertaker. Definitely watched a lot of WWE shows. WrestleManias. I went to a bunch of shows. I don't watch it as much as I used to, but I definitely still stay in tune with it. So, but it's definitely still one of that's why I'm able to utilize the things on the mic. Because growing up, I wanted to be a pro wrestler. It's like, man, I wanted to go to WWE. And then obviously, once you start learning behind the scenes of how it actually goes, you're like, oh, okay, maybe not. But I actually still looking towards that venture maybe one day. So hopefully, how long my MMA career go, I might get my toes in that pro wrestling world one day. So.
You never know, man. October 10th, Contender Series, UFC Apex, Torrez. You get your opportunity, man. Thank you so much for taking the time. All the best in the fight, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, brother.